Hi, this is Vikas. Today we are here to talk about IELTS. Where to take the test, how is it done, how it is evaluated. So let's get started. IELTS is International English Language Testing System that evaluates your English proficiency. If you wish to study or work in a country where English is the primary language of communication, you need to assure that university admission officer or visa officer know that you are adept with the language. Now let's understand who takes or applies for this exam. First, student applicants. Second, PR or work applicant. Student applying for undergraduate, master's or PhD degrees to study in a native English language countries appear for academic training IELTS. Basically, the one who are applying for academic courses. Other who wish to apply for work permits and permanent residency must consider general training IELTS. Therefore, first, you must know what you are applying for, work visa or student visa, and then you must go ahead and appear for the respected exams accordingly. Now let's see who conducts this examination. Cambridge Assessment International Education owns the IELTS examination and checks the proficiency of the candidate. The IDP and British Council are the two bodies that conduct the test. In India, IDP solely conducts the examination, whereas British Council conducts the examination in certain regions internationally. Now let's understand the necessary prerequisite for applying for the test. First is the passport. You must have a valid passport to apply for the IELTS test. Without one, you cannot appear for the exam. Second is preparation and practice, and they are essential before you appear for the test. If you are looking for a grade score, let's say 7 bands or above, make sure you practice. One can appear for the test, or which version of the test you can choose. Well, a simple way to decide is to first check if your city has a center where you can apply for a paper-based test or a computer-based test. After you know if your city provides a computer-based test, you must know a few things before choosing which test to take. I will explain each in further details. Firstly, let's talk about writing. A paper-based test requires good handwriting, nothing too fancy, but it must be readable and presentable. Whereas for a computer-based test, you don't need to worry about your handwriting as you will be typing everything. Another advantage for a computer test is that the word count appears on the screen. Whereas in the paper-based test, you will have to manually keep a count of the words to make sure that you have written the minimum words as instructed. Second, the time appears on the screen in the computer-based test, and you can use options such as cut, copy, delete instead of erasing and rewriting, which is not available on paper-based test. Now let's understand about reading. You need to write answers in separate answer sheet, whereas in computer test, there are spaces available on the screen where you have to input the answers. Another important thing that one must note, that true and false questions in the paper-based test, the student has to write the word true, false and not given. Whereas in computer-based test, you just have to click on the button that says true, false and not given. So there are very few chances of you making an error. The reason behind this is that if there are words like yes, no and not given, and you end up writing true, false and not given, then you may not get the score. Proceeding to the listening section. In the paper-based test, you get 10 minutes to transfer your answer to the answer sheet. Whereas in computer-based test, you will get 2 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. And again, there are fewer chances of you making the error. Last but not the least is the result. The results come after 13 to 15 days in a paper-based test, whereas the computer-based test, the results are out in just 3 to 5 days. Now that's helpful because then it will give you ample of time to decide on your future application process. Now let's understand the pattern of the test one by one. The 4 sections are divided into 2 primary skills, receptive and productive. In the receptive skills, we have listening, reading, whereas in productive skills, we have writing and speaking. The listening, reading, writing test takes place on the same day, whereas the speaking test is conducted on a separate day. Now let's understand each one of them in detail. Listening will be a 40-minute test wherein there are 4 sections arranged in an order of difficulty. That is, the first section will be the easiest, whereas the fourth section will be relatively difficult. Therefore, simultaneously write your answers in the answer sheet while listening to the audio. There are 40 questions that you must answer in the listening test. Now let's move on to the reading. Reading is a 60-minute long test. Reading is different for both academic and general test. Reading has 3 sections. General test will have 3 tests for which you have to answer 40 questions. These are again in the order of difficulty. That means section 1 will be the easiest, whereas section 3 will be a tricky one. On the other hand, in the academic test, you will have 3 lengthy passages based on which you have to answer 40 questions. Now let's look at writing. This section is little different for general and academic. For the general test, writing will have 2 tasks and you will have to write a letter in task 1 and essay in task 2. For academic test, you will have to summarize an image in task 1 and compose an essay in task 2. Both the tests will give 20 minutes for task 1 and 40 minutes for task 2. Now let's understand speaking. Speaking is an 11 to 14 minute one-on-one session between the candidate and the instructor, which is recorded. Speaking is divided into 3 sections. Section 1 has a brief introduction followed by a short question and answer session. Section 2 is an individual speaking session where you will be given a topic to speak on for 1 to 2 minutes and you will get a minute to prepare. Coming to the part 3, which is a discussion, the examiner will ask you 5 to 6 questions based on topic given in part 2. Now let's conclude. Finally, concluding this video, here are few things to remember. Know that you can give your IELTS as many times you want. IELTS exam is conducted every month 2 to 3 times for a paper-based and more than 15 times for a computer-based. The validity of the score is exactly 2 years from the time of your attempt. You can book your date in the same month as well, but it is usually advised that you must not appear for the exam any closer than once in 2 months. I hope we were able to give you some valuable information. And if there is any information or queries, you can comment below or send us an inquiry at contact@unischolars.com. And get ready for more IELTS related videos that are yet to come. Thank you.